right, you're welcome back. Persons living with disabilities have a reason to smile. We told you that earlier. Since the President Muhammadu Buhari has signed into law the Discrimination Against Persons with Disabilities Prohibition Act.
Yeah, this piece of legislation will henceforth criminalize discrimination against persons with disabilities. Senior Special Assistant to the President on National Assembly Matters, Senator Ita Inang, said corporate entities and individuals will face excruciating sanctions if found guilty of discriminating against persons with impairments. The bill imposes a 1 million naira fine on any organization and 100,000 naira or 6 months imprisonment on an individual who violates the bill. And we have in the studio the Executive Director, Center for Citizens with Disabilities, David Anyele, joining us in this discussion. David, good morning.
Good morning.
And let me say congratulations.
Thank you so much.
You have been on this issue for the years, over the years. Yeah. Consistency, perseverance, pushing, talking, enlightening and talking about it. Yeah. Congratulations.
It's finally paid off.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Well, let us get into the breakdown of all of this now. First of all, let us get into the breakdown of all of this now. First of all, let me say, when the news got to you that the bill has been signed, how did you take the news?
I was full of excitement. Look at what happened. Day before yesterday, before the announcement, we organized interfaith prayer section at the Unity Fountain in Abuja. And before we organized that interfaith prayer section, some of our partners were like, David, have you run short of ideas on how to push this bill? Now you are resorting to praying and fasting. They said it is better for you to go back to do protest than to go and do praying and fasting. We call all people with disabilities, as many that could make it, the Muslim faithful, the Christian faithful. We invited clerics from the Christian and Muslim, religions, and they attended. Pastor Kayode Rigbede was there of the Liberty Chapel SDA, and the Islamic cleric who was there. Guess what? We prayed. The Christian prayer we prayed, the Muslim prayer we prayed, and we sang a song of victory. And before we left, I told the gathering that before you get to your residence, that you are going to hear that the president have signed this bill, that this prayer that God has had us. And they thought I was joking. It's a normal Nigerian prophecy. I prophesied to you. This is what is going to happen. I left Abuja back to Lagos. As I was just coming out from the airport, inside the car, my phone rang. I picked. The next thing I had was, congratulations. I said, what happened? He said, sir, congratulations. The news coming in now is that the president have signed the bill. I said, how did you know? Wow. I couldn't believe it. Before I knew, calls started coming. Calls started coming. They said they've been calling my line because I was in the air. They said they've been calling my line that the president have. I don't know how to feel. I don't know when I'm feeling cold. I don't know when in fact, I didn't know how to manage it. I just, organized myself. My daughter was in the car. She was hearing the conversation because it was on speaker. I said, Daddy, the president have signed the bill. Daddy, the president have signed the bill. The prayer you prayed has worked. Wow. I said, only God can do it. And I asked God to bless President Muhammad Buhari. He will not see disability. His family will not see disability. All the people that worked for us, Senator Tejang, Senator Bukola Saraki, Right Honorable, Yakub Dogara, all of them that played one role, including the sponsors of this bill, who made effort. Our partners from Osiwa, Rolac, and Netherlands High Commission, the DFID, there are many of them that, that made one effort or the other to support us, including the Australian High Commission.
And now it has paid off.
Yeah, it has paid. Minister of Women Affairs, I must tell you, they played a key role, including the Attorney General of the Federation. Guess what? We designed a policy brief on why the Nigerian government should support the passage of this bill. And we took the policy brief to the Attorney General of the Federation. And after looking at the policy brief, he told us, David, the signing of this bill is not a problem. We are going to work with you and ensure that the president signed this bill. The president is willing to sign it. We went to the Minister of Women Affairs and said, look at the policy brief that will support the passage of this bill. They said, David, we are going to sign this bill. We've seen a lot of benefits attached to it. And guess what? President Muhammadu Buhari promised us in 2015 that he's going to sign that bill.
And now he has signed it.
Fulfilled his promise.
Okay, David, let's put you on hold. Obviously, prayer does work for those who have doubts. All right, let's take you to Kwara and Bauchi states to find out what residents there have to say about the disability bill that has just been signed into law by President Muhammadu Buhari.
It's one thing to sign the bill into law, but the problem is implementation, because there are many bills that have signed for the well-being of persons with disability, but it lacks implementation.
Nigeria is a signatory to so many international treaties, and one of such treaties is the support for people living with disability. So with this coming on board, the discrimination they are facing in different areas of their lives will become either reduced or after some time eradicated.
With this, I believe, and of course, in the bill that was assented to by Mr. President, I think there were penalties for anybody that treats people with disability anyhow. So by now, everybody will begin to have consciousness. Everybody will begin to, treat them the way they should be treated.
Most of them have complained of the difficulty of accessing some of these facilities we use, like banks, doors, and what have you. I think I even complain in their place of work. So I think this bill, first is helped. Is coming at the right time. At this time that we are, the clamor for that, for the right of those people, is at a very, is at the zenith across the world.
It's not all about the giving assent to the bill. They must follow it to the extent that the needfuls are being done, like making necessary provisions and when it is needed.
I would like to advise the president and those that matter in this process to hasten up this, the implementation of this bill, so that these people will be fully put into the system.
First of all, it will give them sense of belonging in the electoral process, and at the end of the day, the voter turnout during the elections in Nigeria, of course, will increase, because they also will have to mobilize the people around them to, encouraging them to vote and to be part of the democratic process.
Honestly, they have to be incorporated in all aspects of this life, because majority of them are feeling this stigma of being disabled, coming in among people. They find it very difficult at times, and I think this bill is a very good one, and it's going to help them and give them more courage.
It's a good thing with the new bill in place that has been signed into law. It means people with disability are now fully protected by the Nigerian law. But I think I'm calling, on my own opinion, I'm calling on government to embark on massive campaign to create awareness on the bill itself that has been signed into law.
It will go a long way to give people living with disability a sense of belonging in the society, especially the discrimination will reduce and they will be able to take their stand in the society. It's actually a good thing, and I hope that a lot of things will be done in order to give such people like the crippled, the albinos, in order to make them to feel more important like every normal person in the society.
Yeah. Right, that's from Ilorin to Bauchi and all of that. Voices of Nigerians giving some credit to the passage of that bill, but with some very keen instructions there, drawing attention to the issue of implementation and all of that. But before we even go into how to implement and so on, and prohibitions and so on, the concept of passing the bill is even common sense for anyone to say, okay, let's pass a bill so that we can, all inclusion. But why did it take so long for this to be passed, from your experience and all of that?
I think it's majorly lack of political will on the part of political actors to ensure that people with disabilities are integrated. You see, an average politician do not believe that people with disabilities are not integrated in the system, because they are used to charity-based approach of addressing disability issue. They give them wheelchair, they give clutches, they give rice, they give bread and butter. So to them, they are not discriminated. They fight for them without knowing that they don't have access. without knowing that they discriminate against them, without even knowing that some of the words they use, terminologies they use, undermines them. So when you share this with them, they feel like, but we don't feel like there's something like that is going on. So it leads to a kind of, a kind of ignorance on the part of political actors. All these years we have been sensitizing, educating, mobilizing, holding one form of meeting or the other, calling the attention of state actors on this bill. It helped to increase the knowledge attached to it. Let me lead you. In 2014, we conducted a survey on access to public infrastructures in Nigeria, in 6 states and Abuja. We monitored all line MDAs highlighted as responsible for the rehabilitation of people with disabilities in Nigeria, in line with the national policy for the rehabilitation of persons with disabilities. You can't believe that all the 13 ministries, departments, and agencies are not accessible to people with disabilities, including the coordinating ministers, the Federal Ministry of Human Affairs. It's so bad. To them, they don't even understand. To them, we are serving the people. To them, does it matter? Whereas a huge number of people, more than 25 million Nigerians, are not accessing government program and activities. So you can imagine at that level where you have state, actors, directors, ministers.
We have Executive Director, Center for Citizens with Disabilities, David Anyele. He's been speaking with us about all of this. David, every time you come on the breakfast, one question that goes through my mind, and I'm sure a lot of our viewers will be wondering, before we get into the issue of, what then? A lot of people have talked about implementation, which would be key. How did you become disabled? Are you able to share that very, very quickly, so that we can feel it from, that personal angle?
I lost my limbs in Freetown, Sierra Leone.
Okay.
20 years ago, 19th of January, 1999, during my business trip to Freetown, Sierra Leone. I was evacuated from Freetown after the rebels cut my 2 hands and set me on fire because I'm a Nigerian, and the Nigerian government was supporting economic peacekeeping operation in that country. The Nigerian army, evacuated me back to Lagos. I was admitted at the Nigerian Army Reference Hospital, Yaba, where I was treated. 30th of August, General Jonathan Eremu, who was my surgical consultant, declared me stable and discharged me from the hospital. He requested my state government, Abia State, to take charge of my rehabilitation, recognizing it was because of Nigerian exuberance in Freetown and Sierra Leone that led to my limb loss. My state government, Abia State, under the leadership then by Chief Justice Okalo, denied me rehabilitation. I went to Abuja to seek for rehabilitation. I approached my representative, Senator Ike Nwachukwu, to speak for me. Then the federal government, under the leadership of Chief Olusegun Obasanjo, denied me rehabilitation. I had to resort to private individuals and others to raise funds to get my artificial hands, to get back to life. So the process of going through rehabilitation, state rejection, stigma, discrimination, isolation, and abuse by the state forced me to appreciate what people with disabilities go through in this country. And because of the commitment of individuals, Nigerians, towards my rehabilitation, I resolve to ensure that I support to create a kind of society all of this. Because my father, who was so devastated by reason of what happened to me, died, also. And before he died, he said, David, if Nigerians could walk and gather people he doesn't know where they came from, they don't know him, they could go this extent to support you. He said, my son, go and do likewise, to support other people with disabilities.
And here you are.
And so ever since then, I got that commission from my dad before he died. I chose to lead the state to understand the issue so as to appreciate the need to protect people with disabilities. Because while I was in Germany for my, rehabilitation, I discovered that the government, the hospital where I was treated, there were other people from other countries. They were also coming there for rehabilitation. Guess what? They are being sponsored by their government.
And you didn't get that?
I was coming out of pocket expenses. In fact, while they were coming for rehabilitation, they would come with their family members so that their family members will be led
to help them to
know how to manage disability.
recover.
So my own was, out of pocket. I was there, trying to, to save money.
So now, do you think this new law will actually close all of these gaps? Because it's one thing to sign the law. I mean, you heard, Nigerians there speak, but the real issue when the rubber hits the road is implementation. One
beauty thing about this law is that it's not an executive law. It's not an executive sponsored, law. This law was a generation of civil society group to ensure that they are protected, people living with disabilities. So I want to assure you that this law, we are going to ensure the implementation to the letter. Note, I've mentioned earlier that the international community supported us in all the advocacy, in all the lobbying, in all the engagement. They built our capacity. They showed us alternative ways of engagement. They even go as far as holding meetings, talking to our parliamentarians, supporting us to ensure that they understand the issue. I want to assure you that people with disabilities in Nigeria, they will engage all actors, both state and non-state actors, to ensure full implementation.
All right, but with that kind of support from even the international community and all of those, the array of people and organizations and so on that you mentioned, it still took this long for this law to be passed. Do you have any concern at the corner of your mind anywhere that when it comes to the implementation, when it gets to that level of implementation, something somehow can also delay the implementation?
There are different sections of the law. The role of individual, role of organization, and role of government. In all these responsibilities, if you find yourself being abused, you are entitled to go to court. That one is standalone. Yeah. In terms of implementation of structures, if a person with disability wants to access your public building and you discover it's not accessible, you go to court. And the fines are there. There are fines you are going to pay to the individual until that environment is made accessible. So that is why there are penalties attached to it, ranging from 5,000, 10,000, 100,000, and 1 million. So people with disabilities are out to enjoy the benefits attached to this bill. And the beauty of it is that it creates opportunity for inclusion, access to education, up to secondary school, free, access to healthcare, mental health, free mental health services at federal hospitals. It provides for access to public buildings. So as this building is, the first thing you are going to do now is to conduct an audit of accessibility needs. When we talk about access to public building, it's not just ramp. It includes toilets. Because if a person with disabilities enters this building and there is ramp for him to enter, but there is no access to public toilet, it is not accessible. So these are the things all organizations are going to review. They're going to review their policy. They're going to review their services. To what extent do these services, accessible to people with disabilities? To what extent our product accessible to people with disabilities? So it's a new dawn in Nigeria. Behaviors are going to change.
And the election is right around the corner.
Yes.
How do you think, this will affect the average person living with disability?
It's a signal to Independent National Electoral Commission. We have been engaging them. They know that this bill is on the pipeline. They've been monitoring it. They are aware. In fact, the chair, INEC, is aware that this bill has been passed. The beauty of it is that INEC have been making effort to ensure that they understand disability and take appropriate measure to ensure that they are not left behind in the electoral process. There is a moratorium of 5 years within which all institutions are expected to redesign or to conduct audit and take appropriate measure to correct where there is necessary, ensuring that people with disabilities access their product and services. So I expect INEC, in as much as the election is few weeks from now, we are also supporting them in identifying person with disabilities needs in their participation in the electoral process. By next week, we are going to hand over our findings to INEC. We are conducting this study in 7 states: Abia, Gombe, Enugu, Lagos, Rivers, Plateau, and Kano State. in all the local government areas of these states, identifying persons with disabilities with PVC, identify their electoral needs, cataloging them for onward presentation to INEC so that they can use it to plan for their logistics and their deployments. Those that may need braille, they provide braille for them. Those that may need access wheelchair, to ensure that such ward or such polling unit is accessible to people with disabilities. So we'll be engaging all actors. It's not about prohibition or penalties, it's about sensitization.
Are you engaging fellow persons living with disabilities, especially the ones you find on the street corner? Anywhere you go to across the country, you find all manner of people on the streets. There's a level of self-discrimination too, beyond societal discrimination. That's a whole kettle of fish. How are you going to deal with such people in such a way that they actually begin to value themselves as individuals who can add value to society?
This self-discrimination stems from long or protracted exposure to stigma, isolation, and other harmful abuses that make people with disabilities to hang around the street corner looking for arms. The beauty of this law is that if you use a person with disabilities for arm begging, he'll be penalized. That is what the law provides. So what is going to happen now is that sensitization will, that is what the law provides. So what is going to happen now is that sensitization will go on, awareness will go on for them to understand the provisions in this law so they will be able to take advantage of it. Because begging is prohibited. It's not something you can... So the state has a role to play. If you take a state like Lagos State, that has also Lagos State Special Purpose Law, that make robust provision for persons with disabilities rehabilitation and reintegration, it is Uhuru. We are calling on family members, people with disabilities, wherever you are. If you don't understand the issue, please go to our website, www.ccd.org. You will get knowledge, you will get understanding about what is expected, of you in order to enjoy the provisions of this. The beauty of it also is that the burden of taking care of people with disabilities has reduced for family members.
All right. We have to leave it here now. David Anyele, Executive Director, Center for Citizens with Disabilities. Thank you so much for coming. And we say congratulations to you for the passage of this bill.
Also, thank you. Because it is the media that helped us. Without the media, this thing couldn't have worked. Between last week and today, it has been the media speaking for us. God will bless all of you.
We are partners in progress. Thank you very much. That's why we're here in the first place. Thank you very much.